Let's talk Los Angeles Chargers here for a little bit. Look, obviously, bringing in the addition of Coach Harbaugh, Joe Ortiz from the Baltimore Ravens, it was meant to signify and bring on a major cultural shift in Los Angeles, and it obviously has. But it wasn't just a cultural shift that went on, it's also a major strategic shift in terms of how they're going to manage their roster and how they're going to set their football team to be successful, especially when compared against their competition. And a report came out recently to highlight that strategic shift. Let's get into the report, and we'll talk about it more in detail on the other side. This is according to CBS Sports. After 7 largely successful seasons together, Austin Ekeler and the Los Angeles Chargers parted ways amicably. A change in philosophy, Ekeler said, was the main reason why he left Los Angeles. The Chargers came to me and kind of told me what they were looking at in a running back position, and it wasn't what I can offer as a player, Ekeler said. Ekeler went on to say, Ekeler on Commanders running back Brian Robinson Jr. We're a very different type of runners. He's like 6'1", 220 pounds or whatever he is, and I'm not. I'm like little scat speed. All right, those last couple sentences are really important. Again, we're seeing a shift. The Chargers' philosophy difference. They did not want Austin Ekeler, who admittedly is a smaller in terms of size and weight kind of running back. I think that's the key here. I think this signifies a smart move by the Chargers. And Miles, I know you've got some insights on the why this is a smart move. But first, Chargers fans, in the comment section below, draft is getting closer and closer. In the comment section, give us what you think the Chargers will do with the number 5 pick. Do you think they'll sit there and trade off? Do you think they'll sit there? Do you think they'll trade back? Do you think they go offense? Do you think they go defense? Whatever you think the Chargers will do with the number 5 pick, put that in the comment section below. But Miles, give me your thoughts on the Chargers' overall strategic decision, especially focusing on the running back position.
Yeah, Nick, I think this was a move, like you said, that has been in the works ever since that Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz have gotten into Los Angeles. They've really been cooking something up. There's a specific goal they want to go to, and it's not even the players, it's coaching staff. They hire Greg Roman, who's notoriously known for playing this style of football. They get rid of Austin Ekeler, who, like he said, he's not what they were looking for. He's not the kind of back that they have a vision for in this offense. And then they get Gus Edwards from Baltimore, who is a back that is the position, the size, and plays the position the way that they want to play it. He's a guy that has been known in and out of Greg Roman's offense, and he's a guy, quite frankly, who's done very, very well in Greg Roman's offense as well. He has his 2 best years as a player in Greg Roman's offense in 2020 and 2021, grading out at an 85.8 and an 83.3. But that isn't even the best part about all of this, because I'm sure Austin Eckler's had a lot of great years where he's graded very highly as well. But he just doesn't provide what Greg Roman wants out of his running backs. And that's a guy who can hit the hole hard, power running football, and get you some yards after contact, get you that first down, get the ball moving down the field. And Austin Ekeler, let's say last year, yards after contact per attempt, he averaged 2.6 yards after contact. You flip it over, you look at Gus Edwards, he averaged an entire yard over Ekeler at 3.6 yards per attempt at yards after contact. So just showing Edwards is a guy that when you hit him, it takes a lot to take him down. He's a big back. He plays that power style of football. And this is what the Chargers are looking for. They no longer want a player like Ekeler, who we're not saying is bad. He just doesn't fit what they want. So they don't want to pay a player the amount of money that a guy like Ekeler would demand, who doesn't fit the style of football they are now going to play. So I think this is a smart move. I think in the article earlier, it says they split amicably. Okay, I think that's great too. They said they went up to Ekeler and said, hey, it's not that you're not a good player. You just don't fit what we have here in Los Angeles. We appreciate what you've done, but we are going a different direction just because you physically don't have the size and body to be the kind of running back that we want. So I think the savvy move by the Chargers, kind of filling out their offense the way that they want to.
Well, and it's important to understand why they're doing this, right? They're not just doing this on a whim. And we talked about this on a few other episodes we've done, is that the NFL over the past half decade or so has just gotten, on the defensive side, specifically the front 7, smaller and smaller and smaller. And by smaller, I mean lighter, right? We're seeing pass rushers now at 240, 250 pounds. We're seeing linebackers generally get smaller. We're seeing teams play with safeties as linebackers more and more. We're seeing a lot more nickel and dime, nickel being 5 defensive back packages, dime being 6 defensive back packages, right? We're seeing teams get into pass rush kind of defenses much earlier in games and downs, and instead of 3rd and 10 and the 2-minute warning, right? The NFL is getting smaller and smaller and smaller at linebacker, at front seven, and it's been that way over the last 5 years or so. And one of the things that the Chargers are doing here, sort of by design, and this was Harbaugh's doing by bringing in Roman, is he is zagging when the rest of the NFL is zigging. Everyone's getting smaller. The Chargers, Roman, Harbaugh, they want to get bigger. And the most effective way you can do that in the short term is to get bigger, stronger, more physical running backs. And that's what Edwards, like you mentioned, obviously is. He's got at least 35 pounds on Eckler. He's a much more physical, downhill, punishing runner than Eckler is. Again, nothing against Austin Eckler. I think he's getting a little older, but he's still a very solid football player. But the reality is when the NFL is heading one direction, when they're getting smaller, you want to be the opposite, right? You want to punish the weakness, not try and go toe-to-toe with everybody's strength. And we're seeing some teams, and not to hate on some other teams, we're seeing a lot of teams just try and get that arm race. I look at the team like the Dallas Cowboys, right? They went really small and they keep going smaller, right? And that's just not a recipe for success, right? If you have good players, you'll win some games, but you won't get over the hump. The way you can really make a difference and really stand out and reach the highest levels is if you go the opposite direction. They go small, you go big. And that's what Ortiz and Harbaugh are doing here at the running back position. And I think that's really important because one of the issues that I think was affecting Justin Herbert as well was that despite having an army of great receivers, right? Obviously, when healthy, Williams, Keenan Allen, of course, Everett was a solid, underrated tight end. Palmer, when healthy, is an underrated wide receiver. Teams could get in a lighter package. They could get in those nickel and dime packages and make it much harder for the Chargers to throw the football down the field. When you have a bigger, stronger, more physical running back, it forces teams out of those packages. They have to go heavier in the box. It opens up more passing lanes by design for Herbert, again, down the field. So that's what we're seeing here from the Chargers. We're seeing a strategic shift, and I think that's a smart move. You never want to try and go toe-to-toe and see, okay, how can we outspeed everybody else? If everyone's going small, if everyone's going speed, let's go big and strong. That's what Harbaugh is doing, and I think it's a great decision.
Yeah, and to kind of prove the concept that you're talking about, people might want some examples. Who's a team the Chargers are actively trying to beat every year? That's the Kansas City Chiefs. You look at the Chiefs on the defensive side of the ball. Look at their linebackers even when they're in that nickel package. You got Nick Bolton, 230 pounds. You got Drew Tranquil, 230. What are we used to the days of linebackers being 250, 260, or 30, 50, 30, 20, 30 pounds heavier. Then you got the edge rushers like you alluded to. George Kalafdis, 260 pounds. That's tiny for an edge rusher in this day and age. I mean, it's normal. But back then, you look at edge rushers, they used to be much, much bigger. Charles Omenihu, even 280. I mean, that's a little bit bigger. But the one that's the most noticeable to me is their big man in the middle. Chris Jones, run stuffing. You think of old school nose tackle. That's not what Jones is. But the guy in the middle of the field, Chris Jones, 310 pounds. That's the biggest guy they have on their defensive line. Let's take another look at another team who plays more traditional, old school style defense, the Ravens. You look at Michael Pierce, their interior D lineman. He weighs 360 pounds. He's 50 pounds bigger than Chris Jones. Now, Chris Jones is a better player than Michael Pierce. He has a different skill set. But I'm just saying, overall, like you said, the theme is teams are going much, much smaller on defense overall. And I think, like you said, this is a really good job by the Chargers sticking to what they know is right. They're going to zag when everyone else zigs, and it's going to help prove that this offensive scheme is going to work out very well for the Chargers, and I like to see them in the playoffs next year.